Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is technical analysis of the stock market today. Today is Saturday, November 29th. We're going to take a look at the markets like we usually do, but because it's weekend and month end, we're going to take a look at those charts also. Then we're going to look at our indicators, some ETFs that I normally watch, and I'm going to add one into that. I'm going to add TLT to this little portfolio. Then we're going to take a look at the 5 biggest movers of the 41 stocks I'm watching for option trades, the 5 biggest percentage movers yesterday. Okay, let's take a look here at the Dow Industrials. The Dow was up 0.43, but in reality, that little gain mostly happened in literally the last minute of the day. Which was kind of interesting. So now what do we got? I mean, we've got 4 doji bars in a row, so sideways consolidation in here, extremely overbought, but that a lot of times is an indication of a strong move, which is exactly what we've been getting. And it's relentless up above, riding above the 10, okay? When you see a stock or an indice or anything in the market for that matter riding above the 10 like this, just like once it gets above it up here, you don't want to go against that as a specific trade until it starts to break down. It hasn't started to break down yet. S&P 500, same thing. Now we got a little bit of a reversal bar here. Not sure how strong that is. I wouldn't bet on it yet till we see does it start to break down? This could be an indication that something may be starting to happen here. And by reversal bar, I'm talking about an outside day, okay? The range was beyond, what was that, Wednesday, okay? But again, Wednesday was a tight day. So I'm not sure I'd make a whole lot about this. And this is 3.5 hours of trading on Friday, not even a full day, okay? So we have to keep that in mind also. And again, no divergence on the S&P. NASDAQ continuing to push, riding above the Keltner channels up here, riding above the 10 EMA. New York Composite. This one is really, which is surprising, it's the broadest of the stock indices that we follow, the 5 we look at, okay? But this is all 100% stocks, whereas you have a lot of other things mixed into the S&P 500 measure. And so this one is kind of interesting, the fact that it's broken down below the 10 here for the first time. And it has not pushed to a new high. Let me validate that. I don't believe it has. Okay, the high was here on September 5th. It did not go to a new high like the Dow did on the 19th back in here. And it has not pushed to a new closing high up in here at the end of November. So that's really interesting. The Russell 2000, on the other hand, has continued to have this trend line, this 5.5-year trend line, provide resistance to move. And now look at the Russell closing back down below the 10. Again, now the second time. It did it here. It's pulled back up. Let's look at the indicators. We are gaining a little bit of divergence in here between these 2 moves, okay? Same thing right in here. All right, let's take a look at the weekly. We're going to glance back through the Dow weekly. So for the week, the Dow was a very tight, let me make sure I've got that right. Yeah, very tight little doji bar. Very tight trading. Same thing on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ weekly. And the NASDAQ's stronger again. I think we talked about that the last time. And the New York Composite, we're going to take a look at monthly here in a minute. And NASDAQ, where is it? I've got too many stocks open. There it is, New York Composite weekly. Okay, so this one is not quite the doji bar, the small little doji bars as the others, but it's down. So it was down for the week on the New York Composite. And then the last one is the Russell 2000 on a weekly basis. And there we go, the rut. Russell 2000. Look at this on a weekly basis. Here's that trend line again. And last 4 weeks, all the weeks, okay, this bar right here is October 31st, literally the end of the month. Every week in November, all 4 weeks, was nothing but a doji bar for the Russell 2000. So an entire, literally a consolidation month, that type of thing, which is really, really interesting. You don't see that very often. Okay, and then we're going to take a look on a monthly basis. The Dow, okay, so the monthly it continued up. Here was this potential hanging man type indicator here. But again, the hanging man is really only, I mean, it's a possible indication that it could be a reversal, but you have to have follow through on the next bar, and we didn't get that. You know, we continued to push to the high side on a monthly basis. And the S&P 500 monthly, weekly, there we go. Same thing, same exact look as the Dow. NASDAQ monthly, same look, a little bit stronger in terms of the bar, the last bar. And then we're going to take a look at the New York Composite on a monthly, and then the Russell 2000. Again, a little smaller, not quite, you know, what we got in here, but it's an indication again, you know, the New York Composite has not pushed to new highs. Let me look at something here. Okay, so it's slightly above, we are trading slightly above where it was back in 2007, okay, on the New York Composite. And then the last one is the Russell 2000 monthly. And I've got it's right on it. Okay, so again, a doji bar. So that's not surprising, right? Because we had 4 doji bars for weekly bars. So the month turned out to be a doji bar, just like this month here back March 31st. But right on the trend line, okay? I haven't touched this trend line in, months. I mean, I drew this trend line and we're just, watching to see how it plays out. Well, here's how it's doing. It's just kind of hugging it. Okay, the next thing we're going to take a look at is our indicators. Okay, short-term trading index, right in the middle, just like it has been trading. It really is not showing extreme. We do get that little bit of an extreme right there, but it wasn't as much as we got back in September. And the volatility index, the CBOE volatility index. Okay, so we're now getting it closing above the 10, but if you'll notice, I keep the same moving averages. So this blue line is the 10-day exponential moving average. The blue-gray line is a 21-day simple moving average. They have not crossed yet. Now, it could be that it's going to start the action, and I've noticed that we don't get a big move in the VIX, which means intensive selling, until the blue line crosses above the blue-gray line, okay, like it did back in early September, like it did in early July, then it kind of chopped, and then we got the sell-off towards the end of July, August 1st. So, in my opinion, you're not going to get the big move. Now, sometimes it can happen quickly in here, like January 24th, and then it continued on to the end of January into September 3rd, or February 3rd. I think that's what it was, yes. But it doesn't really happen until you get the cross. Okay, so that's what we'll be watching. We'll be, paying attention to this. And the next one is the high-low. Hopefully I've got that open. There it is. Okay, so this has continued to go sideways. So, and I did notice that the new lows for 52-week new lows kind of skyrocketed here over the last day or two. But the net between the highs and the lows is just going sideways right now. And the put to call ratio, I'll mention, I think it's 0.6, it's 0.56, 0.55. It's not gotten below 0.55 yet, so I don't have it highlighted in orange. It's not in the alert state yet, but it's getting close. And I'm talking about the 10-day of the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, the CBOE equity put to call. So it's focused only on equity stocks. Doesn't have the indices in the ratio that I watch. All right, now we're going to take a look at some ETFs here. Okay, this is the high yield bond fund, iShares high yield bond fund, and so we talked about how this has been selling off in advance of a market top, And it continued yesterday. It got a pretty good whack to the downside after a little bit of a counter trend rally after the moving averages crossed. And we got this counter trend rally in here right when the market was peaking in September. And in July, we got it right after the market peaked a little bit. And then it collapsed. So not quite sure what to make of this because the market isn't really breaking down yet. It could be a sign something is about to turn. The next one we're going to take a look at is one we haven't looked at, which is the, where is it? The iShares 20-year Treasury Bond Fund, TLT. Okay, so this is the 20-year bond fund. So this is kind of the other one is high yield, which is risky. Okay, so you can see it's dropping because people are fleeing risk. This is rising. People are buying into it. They're getting in. Now, why is this? Because bonds rise when interest rates go down. The yield goes down. It's an inverse relationship. So when bonds go up, interest rates are going down. When bonds drop, interest rates are rising. Okay, so it's the inverse relationship. So what I'm seeing here is kind of I would call this a little bit of a flight to safety. Exactly what's happening as the inverse of what's happening when we had the high yield bond fund. So we've gotten across here on the moving averages, just like we got back here in late September, and then look at this climactic move that happened here. So it's kind of interesting that, subtly this thing has been popping in here over the last 5 days and rising. Okay, so let's take a look at the other ones. We look at the semiconductor. Semiconductor continues to push to the high side. Okay, so not seeing that roll over yet, and it has come back. And then the home builders ETF. And the same thing with the home builders. We talked about how it's broken above, gone to new high here, or a higher high, let's put it that way. And, looking strong. I mean, let's look at the indicators real quick. And again, there's no divergence showing up, at all in that. So a little bit of mixed signals that we're kind of seeing in here. And the last one we're going to take a look at is the financial ETF. And this one, do we have divergence showing up here? Yeah, we've got a little bit of divergence showing up, okay? Because this kind of a weak move in here, okay? And not being confirmed in here. So that's kind of interesting. That we'll see, is this a sign that the financials are about to roll over? Sometimes when the moving averages start to get close, it's an indication they're getting ready to break down. Sometimes they just pull together and then they pop apart. But it's something to start watching anyway. All right, so now I want to take a look at the 5 biggest percentage, the winners that I had, the 5 biggest percentage winners for Friday. Actually, it's not the 5 biggest percentage winners, it's the 5 biggest percentage movers, okay? And they all were to the downside. Okay, to start off with here is Apache. So big move. Now, I am really kicking myself. I tried to keep my emotions in check when trading, but I really missed this one and should have gotten in on Wednesday right in the middle of this trading range in here after getting this close here. This was a beautiful setup, and I will show another stock on my trade ideas tomorrow that has a similar, almost identical setup when I'm looking at these fan lines. Bigger fan lines here combined with shorter fan lines in here. And then we got this huge breakdown here. Okay, so where is support for Apache? I mean, it's trading right in here. It's back. I don't know that there's any specific support. It could, because it's, this is back in the early 2009 range. It's just, again, to think that you would jump in and buy this because it's come down so far, it's like trying to catch a falling knife. Why would you even try to do that? Okay. The play would have been back in here trying to catch this to the downside as it's starting to roll back over after a counter trend move. Okay. And so interesting move. That was the biggest percentage loser on the day. The next one is Freeport McMoran. At least that's how I pronounce it. And similar type thing. And why? Because gold and silver also got whacked on Friday. So a lot of the hard asset type things really got whacked in Freeport-McMoRan. Now I know, we got this moving average cross in here. Let me blow this up a little bit. Got the moving average cross, and I was looking if we got a break of a couple day high in here. I was looking to possible move. I thought this was trying to get its feet underneath it. When I didn't get it, and then the action on Wednesday, I was like, I'm not sure I quite like it. That's why I canceled the trade idea after we did not get filled. And, it's a good thing we didn't get filled, or we would have got whacked here. But again, that's the other reason why when I put on a trade idea, a lot of times what I'm looking is I want the market to prove it to me a little bit too on the trade idea. I hate to just, say, okay, well, let's go in and, because of where it closed, I want it to, either break some further high or have a little bit more of a point to tell me that it wants to continue to go that way. All right, the next one is the solar stocks got to get whacked on yesterday too. So let's take a look at Jinko Solar. That was the third biggest percentage loser of the day. And this is dropping back down. I thought maybe this corrective move here was enough, because what are we doing on Jinko Solar? We're going sideways. We had this 1, 2, big pullback 2, big strong wave 3, and then we're chopping sideways wave 4, okay? The opposite of wave 2. So that's what you expect. When wave 2 is sharp and deep, wave 4 is shallower and choppy and complex and can be anything. Can be a huge combination of corrective moves, which is what I think we're getting here. So that's why it's very hard to tell for sure what's going on, except for the fact that now we're breaking back down, even though we had the moving averages crossed. Well, the moving averages crossed here too. So sometimes the trend is just too strong, and it's why you got to be a little bit careful. Now, this move here, I don't know. I mean, just because of the way this trend line is acting, you can almost even put another, let me grab the trend line. Create a parallel line and put it up here. It's not quite as, it's got these 2 points, but it didn't get that point. So I don't know. I'm not sure I'd make a whole lot about that. This is the one that I'll be watching here, because it's got these 2 pivot points right here. And we'll see if it continues to come on down. This is not the wide, I'm talking a lot of times I talk about a WR7 bar, the widest ranging bar the last 7 days. Well, this one was bigger. So we'll just have to continue to watch this one. Not sure. I'll have to look at the stocks over the weekend here for tomorrow for the trade ideas. I'm not sure if I want to be putting a trade on this one or not. The next one is Chicago Bridge and Iron, CBI. Here it is. Now, CBI, this is another one that it was really, really tempting. I almost put a trade idea out on it, and, then it's like, And then, of course, where I should have gotten in is right at the opening here at where did it open? 52.73. The high, 52.74. So now we've got the moving averages crossed a little bit. Are we getting another move down like this? Is this rolling over again? It's hard to tell. I mean, it's had a pretty good move as it is to the downside, but that doesn't mean it has to stop. Little bit of divergence. Let me go up. Let me look in here. DI minus has crossed DI plus naturally. RSI is coming back down. I don't know. It's, big move, big percentage bar. Again, this is a WR7 bar. So here's what I'm thinking about this. Now we'll have to look at this. I think there's a good chance that what might happen here is, if this is going to continue down, what you might do is after the crossed in here, see how it pulled back up and traded slightly above the blue and then reverse back down. We could get a little pullback back up to the blue. I think that's what I would wait for here on CBI, to see if it pulls back up and trades to the blue line or slightly above it, and then look at a possible short or buying puts on it. And the last one we're going to take a look at is United States Steel. And United States Steel, similar type thing, CBI in here. It's rolling over. We've got the moving averages all lined here, at least the 55, the 21, the 10, they're all trading above the 233. but at least the medium to short term are all looking to the downside here. This is similar to CBI in that we got the biggest bar on this last bar. Okay, so this is a WR7 bar, widest ranging bar the last 7 days. So I would be hesitating to jump in and do something on this. I'd be watching to see if it sets something else up. So that's going to be on the radar screen too. So we had a lot of movers on Friday. Actually, we had 3 more stocks that were greater than 5% moves, and all the airlines popped to the upside, of course, because oil's collapsing. So, all right, that's it for today. That's kind of the, end of the week, end of the month wrap up, and we're going to take a look. I'll look at the stocks this weekend and have a trade ideas where we'll review what we're in, review what we, if we got out of any, or what we're in, what we got out of, and then any potential for the coming week. So, all right, everyone, have a great weekend. We'll be back with you tomorrow. If you felt like the video was helpful, please share it on social media or tweet it. Tweet about it. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Gives you access to the Trade Ideas webpage and updates on posts, and then the free PDF I've got for you that you can download. So, all right, this has been Joe for Beyond the Chart. Have a great weekend, everyone.